Hello, everyone. Welcome to this interview this morning on CIG television with Minister for Financial Services and Commerce, the Honorable André Ebanks. And we're here to talk about the Commonwealth Climate Growth Fund. Minister Ebanks, it's such a pleasure always to sit and chat with you. Let's talk about the announcement that you have to make.
Good day to you, Donna. Good day, Cayman and Caymanians around the world. The announcement I have for you today is the Cayman Islands government is announcing that it is joining the global fight against climate change by committing US 25 million seed capital to the new Commonwealth Climate Growth Fund.
Oh, wow, that's big news. So exactly what is the Commonwealth Climate Growth Fund? Explain that to our viewers.
It's an investment fund that will be used to finance blue and green projects in Cayman, in our sister overseas territories, British overseas territories, as well as in the Commonwealth, the 54 nations that make up the Commonwealth.
Wow. Why has the Cayman Islands government decided to actually invest in this fund? How important is it for us to do that?
Let's take a step back. And if we can, imagine a world without COVID, as difficult as that might be. Climate change would be the marquee political international issue. If you've read the recent UN report, it is extremely urgent. So we took a step back and decided, how can we, as the Cayman Islands, help? We're definitely going to be impacted based on our geographical location. And to give credit where credit is due, the idea stemmed from a visit of His Royal Highness Prince Charles when he came to Cayman in March 2019. Would you like to hear more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I think people need to be reminded of that visit and the importance and the link.
He said something profound. If you're following Prince Charles, you can see he's an avid advocate for climate change, mitigation, and resiliency. And he observed that the Cayman Islands has an excellent financial services sector that has perfected investment funds in bringing capital to market. So he thought that we could join the world by using that talent to fight climate change by helping to pool money together in order to invest in blue and green projects and help the world publicly finance climate change products.
Wow, that's an amazing idea. And observation on his part. Now, you mentioned blue-green investment. Can you explain to our viewers out there exactly what that means?
Sure. So blue means protecting the ocean, and green is land protection of our pristine assets, naturally. And what we have to do, I think, not just as a country, but as a world, is figure out how we are going to address this massive challenge in front of the world of climate change. So it can be assisting in sanitation, it could be innovation and technology, the way we do things, it could be education, it can be agriculture, because we have to work on food security, it can be assisting those who are the most vulnerable. How are we going to map where our most vulnerable live in terms of the shoreline, flooding, seas, storms? All of this will take time, and it'll take effort, and it'll also take capital. And that's what the fund is seeking to pool, and that can be Cayman's way of contributing to the fight.
Oh, wow. So give us a little bit of background on the fund itself.
I think that's a good point, and I think this is where I want to pause slightly, because US 25 million sounds like a very big number, because it is a big number, particularly in current economic climate. But I'd like the viewers to understand, particularly our local populace, to understand how prudent the government is being. $25 million is not a check that's being written today. It is telling the fund we are prepared to put our money where our mouth is and make a commitment to you of US 25 million. The life of the fund would probably be about 8 to 10 years.
Okay.
So put forward that commitment. The fund then turns to other local private investors in Cayman and says, government has put its money where its mouth is.
Okay.
What say you?
Okay.
And they seek to try to raise at least 200 million locally. If they amass that amount of money, they will place that with an international bank and try to get the fund to raise internationally up to 750 million. So the Cayman Islands money does not get touched until the fund reaches at least 750 million. Once it does, and we pray that it does, then the fund, over the life of its years, every time it needs capital for a project, will call from the Cayman Islands to draw down from our 25 million. So it goes out in portions. Important to note is that the Cayman Islands will receive its return and be repaid on the same terms as all other investors. But because we were first and took the initial step, the fund has suggested to us that, which will be in the term of the fund's documents, that they will provide Cayman an additional, on top of our return, $50 million to be used locally to finance blue and green projects right here in Cayman. That means jobs. First of all, that means helping to address our own climate issues ourselves, giving us capital to do that. That means jobs. That means training and getting Caymanians into a completely different industry. This has the opportunity to have another leg to the economy.
Wow. Well, we know that financial services is our main pillar here in the Cayman Islands, but what makes us a leader in that area? What makes the Cayman Islands a leader in that area?
It's a combination of factors that we are blessed with. We have a strong judiciary. We have a strong body of laws. We have a tremendous regulator in the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority. We observe the highest international standards for regulatory and tax purposes. And we have an exceptional core of professional service providers that supports the industry. So at present, Cayman is the global leader in investment funds. So this is why this is tremendously synergistic. To offer a product in which we've mastered bringing to market that operates in a tax-neutral manner, and utilizing it to finance blue and green projects throughout the world, this little country has found its way of how it's going to help the larger world. It's a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, to say the least. Now, you mentioned local benefits. How will the fund itself help the 50 plus Commonwealth countries?
So let's say that the fund's goal is obtained of 750 million. The fund's sponsors and investment manager will be going into each of those countries, which would include Cayman, and looking to see what are the blue and green projects they have. So we'll all be at different geographical points, so the issues could be different. We're in the middle of the hurricane belt, so there'll be work to do there. Others might be geographically elsewhere where they might have other environmental issues. So the fund's manager and research analysts will be looking into each of these jurisdictions, sussing out the projects that need funding that are viable, adding capital to try to make it happen.
So, Minister Ebanks, if you could explain to everyone that's watching and listening exactly how the fund is organized and why the Cayman Islands were chosen to take the lead on this.
So the fund is organized through its sponsor, the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, which is the business network of the Commonwealth of Nations, the 54 nations that make up the Commonwealth. They chose us because of the Cayman Islands' excellent reputation in investment funds. As I mentioned to you earlier, they took note of His Royal Highness Q and listened attentively and thought, that's an excellent idea. Here we have a British overseas territory that has mastered investment funds, is number one in the world in it, and has service providers that are supreme in what they do. Let's take that and add it to a place in which we know that the world needs help. The world's unable to finance blue and green projects to adequately fight climate change on just the public purse. We need private capital. Cayman has mastered pooling private capital. Let's use the Cayman Islands. So the fund will also be aided by EY Cayman as its auditor, as Maples and Calder as its attorneys, and its fund administrator will be Harmonic. Importantly, the fund will be regulated, as all investment funds in the Cayman Islands are regulated, by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority. So that's the basic structure and the service providers.
Okay. Why make this announcement now?
The announcement is timely for two reasons. One, as you will note, Under the new administration, the new government, our Premier, Honorable G. Wayne Panton, has formed the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency, putting that as a signal to the world that the Cayman Islands has taken that subject area seriously.
Yes.
You add to that the fact that the world marquee climate change conference, the UN COP26, is going to be held in the UK, specifically Glasgow, Scotland. So here you have a Cayman Islands as a British overseas territory, making its mark and taking this area seriously. You have the UK hosting the marquee conference on the subject area. There's no better time for us to launch this project, to show the world our commitment, to show how we are going to step up and do our part in this most important battle of our lifetime.
Wow, any final words?
Final words, as much as possible, we would really like to be able to showcase this fund at COP26 and have the world take another look at the Cayman Islands, what we have to offer as a country. We're small, but we're mighty. And locally, I'd also like to say that this is an opportunity to advance, and chiefly, I want everyone to understand that climate change is not just a scientific issue. It also, if addressed properly, has the opportunity to create a greener, safer, and importantly, even better economic model. It has the chance to provide jobs, it has the chance to provide better educational opportunities, and it has the chance to reduce the cost of living. All of those things I see as a win-win from my local stakeholder perspective in Cayman and also from an international perspective. And we're super excited to see a convergence of those two concepts.
Minister Ebanks, it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, and we want to thank you, our viewers, for joining us as well. We hope that you've learned everything that you need to learn on this subject, and we just wish you the best.